One thing on it said that Lynn left, and then later in the minutes it said he was still here.
Oh,
Oh.
if you go too long tonight, I have to leave too.
That was the only thing I saw though.
Yeah, I got it. Okay, I will get that deleted.
In an hour, just over an hour, I need to have another meeting, so it's 40 days.
Anything else?
You have to do what?
Have another meeting.
If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
So
Motion by Lynn,
I'll second
second by Ren, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, jump right into it. AutoZone master site plan. You? Yeah.
Here.
Yes, we have a representative right there.
I'm Colby Anderson. I'm with Anderson Law. We're a civil survey firm. We do all of AutoZone's projects in Utah. And obviously, as you can see by the plans here, we're proposing an AutoZone retail auto parts store on that lot up by the highway. Pretty typical layout for them, parking lot. Their typical building, normal stuff. They'll a loading, unloading area on the north side near the trash enclosure where they'll bring parts in and parts out once in a while. Kind of normal stuff. We've been coordinating with the neighbor, the China Star, a little bit because they've had that empty lot there to work with for I don't even know how long, but for a long time. And so we're doing some coordination there with the shared parking and shared access easement. There's an existing one right there. Our proposal in the long run will be to modify that in a different shape, just so that AutoZone can retain the lots, the parking stalls right in front of their store, that row directly in front of the store, just for their customers. And then the shared stuff will be in the middle and on the north of the China Star.
And is that going to be in writing?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yes, there's an existing one there now, but it also includes what we're showing as new stalls right in front of AutoZone. So we'd like to rewrite that and redo a legal description and agreement that will be recorded in front of the highway for sure. We'll help out if we're asked to, but AutoZone also has their people that will be in touch with the China Star to kind of coordinate that and work through the details of that. So I don't want to.
And is the lot purchase dependent upon this committee's approval?
Yeah, for sure.
In other words, you haven't purchased the property yet?
No. This is all part of it. They get us going. We do the design. We start working through the entitlements, and if it didn't work out, AutoZone would not purchase the property and move forward.
And does AutoZone intend to do this?
Yes, absolutely.
We've all sat here and done this at the other end of town, and they've not done anything. So,
AutoZone?
no.
You said, I would have heard about that.
We sat here in meeting and approved a different entity for the other end of town, and nothing's been happening out there.
No.
And that's why I asked you.
So are we talking Maverick? I'll update you on Maverick. Once
We do all Mavericks work too. Well, some of them, usually the ones away from Salt Lake. So we might be working on that one. We did the new one here.
Do they intend to do that?
Well, the new one.
We'll get to that later.
Okay, all right, sorry, I'm sorry.
Let's stay on
I'm
AutoZone.
sorry.
Yes, AutoZone has never sent me a project like this without doing it. Everyone that comes, they vetted it out by the time it gets to me to where they know. There was one in South Salt Lake that didn't happen, but that's just because we couldn't get the zoning and the site plan to work with the zoning on that lot. The store will be built. This is not a halfway effort to see if it might work out. If all this works out and that site plan is good for everyone and we can make the agreements we need to make with the China Star, this project will be built.
And just a little bit of extra information. I've had queries from architects, from signage companies and everything as far as our ordinances and what's required. So I've been getting a lot of queries from a lot of people that are involved in the design. And they're working towards getting information on what to do. But this is the preliminary civil drawings for the site approval. One thing to know, this is a preliminary drawing and there's still some issues to be worked out with China Star.
Yep, and we know that. And again, nothing would ever happen without that agreement in place anyway. So, it'll go forward. Usually when we start these, they go really quickly. it'll be under construction this year, as long as everything gets worked out and everybody's happy with it.
And just so you know, Jane has a representative here also. She's not real big on talking, but she's here to express Jane concerns.
She just talked my ear off for like an hour, about an hour ago.
And just, I could fill in, I mean, basically it's overshared parking and the need for a dumpster, you know, for the trash in there. I think that's the two main issues with her. And you can correct me if that's wrong, and if I covered your concerns, or are you gonna express them once he's done?
When he's done, I'll do what I was asked to do. I'll be great.
Yeah, and we understand that's gonna have to be worked out. And again, there's an existing one there now, so there's a little bit of obviously leverage there for the China Star to make sure that they're happy with it, and for AutoZone to have to make sure the China Star is happy with it. So definitely gonna be worked out.
A few other FYIs, they've been in touch with UDOT as far as their entrance requirements. They've met with our utility department as far as sewer, water and everything else, storm drainage. If you notice, they have a detention system designed in with an overflow to Highway 40 to go to the storm drain on the end of the block down there by Lee House. And that's all worked out with our utility department on there.
Yeah, if UDOT's approved this, moving that curb cut and doing a new driveway where it's shown there. Had that pre-application meeting and they'll got all the formal documents in, including a variance to make sure that happens. But they understand the situation and why that access is good, and we're just modifying really and relocating the existing one, so.
So what storm was the detention basin designed for?
It's designed for the 100-year storm, the main storm in detention, right? And then
You designed for a 100-year storm to 10?
we designed,
It's right here. I got it right here. He sent it to me last year.
it's all because we don't have anywhere to drain it to, but we designed the detention, it's a retention system designed for the detention volume, only because we don't have anywhere to put it. So the system will fill up, and we've given enough volume to meet the design requirements, and then it'll top out one of the grates and kind of meander through the parking lot out towards the highway, kind of like it would do now if it,
Well, it looks like if it was, I think the drawings are great, you've done a great job, I'm not. To me, if it was to flood now, it'd go back towards the alley.
no, I mean, if you want to bring up the grading plan, I can point that out. a
Well,
little
the
bit.
existing contours all go back to the alley. So if it was to flood now, most of it.
Oh, right now, yes, right now it's very flat, right along the restaurant and then, yeah, to the alley and things. So yes, we are changing existing grades.
So which sheet would you like?
I was just gonna say the grading plan would show some of the slope arrows on it.
So is that 2 or
No, it's go down a few.
keep going this way?
No, yeah, keep on that, sorry. Couple more, that's the system. Okay, so right here, I mean, you can see the existing contours in the background is the gray area, but right now what we're gonna do is everything's gonna drain to this center waterway right here. And then we got a catch basin there, and there, and there. It will collect all the storm water. The system underground right here will flood, and it's retention, we've done perk tests and everything, it's retention. It'll flood and fill in the 100-year storm, right? A 101-year storm, it'll top that grade right there, and it'll come out to the highway right through here.
So I looked at it and it looked like to me that it actually, it's gonna come pretty close to their building. And then it looks like it would kind of meander down and then actually go into Lee Nell's property.
Yeah, it's tough. It's really tough because it's all really flat.
So are you guys gonna regrade it so it comes out on the curb right there? Because it's, if you
Well,
look at the grading, if you look at your survey,
it's that area right there. I guess I can't remember, and I'm not saying it's gonna come out there versus where it
I
comes.
think it'd go all the way down to Lee Nell's. And then I was trying to figure out where it would go after it entered the Lee Nell's property.
Well, it shouldn't enter their property. There's a grate, storm
Is there?
grate at the corner over there, and that's where Kirby said that they wanted it to go. That's on the corner of that property. I haven't seen the grate, but that's where Kirby, because we met with them, and that's where they said design for that to end up at, and then it's still great.
But again, that's, we can't design, I mean, we're designing for the design storm. And we're providing, I mean, that should never happen. The 101-year storm, by rule, would say that grade gets topped. But 99-year storm says that it all stored in the system and it infiltrates.
Because I'd have to see the design. I'm surprised that there's Storm Tech, is that what you're doing?
Yeah, just one of the ADS storm tech systems.
I'm surprised that that storm truck would handle a 100-year storm.
Well,
Actually, it's 100-year, 24-hour
right,
was your design.
right, and was that was what you
And I
wanted to
told
require,
them,
right?
that's what I asked for.
We did a perk test the last couple of weeks to confirm this. I haven't actually been given the rates, but we didn't design for the percolation. We're just confirming it'll percolate. They told me yesterday, they haven't sent me the data, they said, the rates look really good. That they just finished up their report and they were supposed to send it to me for this meeting, but they haven't.
Just a 100-year or acre lot, and it just seems like not very much retention for it.
Yeah. We can look at the calcs. Dean has the calcs, he can review the calcs, and if we need to make any changes, but yeah, that's what we designed to. And then just so you know, back to one of your previous comments, yes, this area right here is existing, it's not great, it's very flat, probably some bird baths and stuff there during storms. So we're actually taking our new asphalt right over to the sidewalk along that side of China Star. And then we're putting new asphalt all in here so we can now fix that and control it by getting stormwater that way and that way to this waterway and these catch basins. So should really improve on what's already there and really help with the drainage.
It looked like the elevations against the side of the building are about the elevations of where the water would spill down, and so it looks like it actually puddle up against the building and then flow down over where you're talking. But
Let's talk, you mean against China Star right here?
yeah, if you look at the elevations are like 98.7,
Yeah.
and it looks like the elevations of where it's spilling is 98.7 as well.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Without just redoing all of that, we have to accept on some level what we have to work with. And
Yeah, so I guess that China Star needs to understand that if they get, according to calculations, they get more than 100-year storms, it does look like it'll back up against the building. And there is actually additional water, so that's, to me, I think it's more China Star than it is us.
yeah, that's what I was saying. We're trying to do the best we can with the existing conditions. By redoing all of that asphalt isn't something we normally do. Say, hey, let's go offsite and do a bunch of somebody else's site. But I think it's the only way to do our best job at making it the best it can be. And so I told AutoZone we need to go that far over so we can get the slopes back to there and kind of manage that situation the best we can. So I don't know. Like I said, these sites are tough when you're surrounded by existing conditions on all sides, and especially something that is very low like that. And they don't have curb and gutter. They got some sidewalk right to the doorways and things. And so it is what it is. But like I said, we looked at it pretty hard, and we did a full Carl's Jr. design on this. My company did a few years ago. It never happened. Maybe some of you know that, maybe you don't. But so we had AutoZone survey and we had our own survey. We went back to our other survey too to kind of look at this whole area right here to ensure that even if it's just an inch, whatever it is, we got to be below their finished floor, and we got to make sure that water is not going that way against that building, that it's going that way to the asphalt and the road. So that's what we've tried to do in our design. So we can look more closely at that if we need to, and Dean can make sure that we're doing all we can do in that fashion.
Anyone have any other questions?
I'm curious about the fencing.
I'm sorry, what was that?
The fencing.
No fencing planned at the moment. Does the city have a requirement to fence it?
It does. Anywhere between, if there's separation between residential and commercial, there's a requirement to have a fence.
There isn't any residential there.
There's an alley.
Commercial.
So when we did the Taco Bell, we required a fence along the back alley there to separate the commercial from the residential.
Well, both sides of the block now is commercial. No fencing is required.
The zoning's commercial, but the use is residential.
Well, it's all zone commercial now. I'm not going to require fence.
It's not up to
It's up to
you.
me.
If the ordinance says it's required between uses, we'll have to look at that and see if it's required between
We
uses.
can pull up the ordinance.
So would it be against the alley, or are we talking about the one neighbor to the west here?
It'd be to the north. The one to the west already has a
So
privacy
this
fence.
right here is what you're saying? I think whatever the city requires there. If the code requires it, we'll put it there. We can't debate that. But
So
AutoZone
is it
doesn't.
site approval or commercial?
So go to commercial zoning.
Is your load dock in that back area?
It is, it's just, it's just this concrete, it's just a big concrete slab area, and there's just one of those small garage doors, roll doors right here.
So
They'll have a delivery truck or two a week that'll
They'll use
hold down in their back up, do their
These
thing,
both
roll out.
forward. whole code.
It's not like daily or
Pull it up,
anything.
able to get to it though.
Just pull up the zoning.
Oh, yeah.
We're not able to make it do a fan.
We're not kind of like an alley for access and things. So, yeah. The truck turning movements.
All that area was rezoned commercial.
Can back up and come out.
So it is still a residential zone, but it's all rezoned commercial.
Is that alley designated one way anyway?
No. Not that one, the next one is.
We actually gave them the option of an outlet into the alleyway if they paid it, because that alleyway is from halfway through Western Hills, it opens up. But they didn't want that option. They did not want to exit into the alleyway.
Not yet. I mean, it doesn't mean it won't change, but
Just
they
an option
had
of
a.
giving employees that authority.
Oh, yes, yes.
It keeps them down a little bit deep.
Just scroll, you mean?
Oh,
They were.
yeah, that's right.
So it'd be number one, any area outside a building used for business activity other than off-street parking and loading adjacent to any residential district shall be completely enclosed with a solid fence or wall of a height sufficient to completely screen such activity from the street or the adjoining parcels.
So I just one vote, and I guess officially the way the code is worded now, it is Dean's approval, not our approval. But I think that to be consistent, we did require Taco Bell to put a fence along that alleyway, because we felt like at the time that the residents to the north ought to have a little bit of privacy between that. And if you look at like the property to the west, they put in a side obscuring fence, put actually barbed wire up to kind of protect their residents. And I mean, this is a big improvement over that Western Hills Motel. But I think if I lived back there, I'd probably want a fence between the commercial property and my property.
Well, the future of the whole zone is to become commercial. You were behind it, they're rezoned commercial.
I know.
So the lots to the north of the alley are zoned commercial,
There's no commercial,
but
but
they're being used as residential
The intent,
by their choice, or what was it, just rezoned?
yeah, and I can bring up the zoning map to show you that. So the intent is the future that is to eventually become all commercial. If people so desire.
Like you said, it was after, it was a courtesy to those.
Like I said, a fence isn't a deal breaker. I mean, it's not my call, it's Autozone's call. It's not a deal breaker. I mean, their response typically is we'll show us in the code where it's required. And they don't normally like to do those just because, you know, what it's gonna turn into is a maintenance thing. You're gonna have, you know, panels getting busted out and broken, and then, I mean, is what it's gonna turn into. And then, I mean, you guys gotta decide too, so you just throw up a fence and it's like an alley versus kind of being open with nice landscaping and you can see anything that's going on, or anybody driving back there or walking back there.
Well, another
So,
issue is those
just things to
alleyways
consider.
are designed for maintenance on our sewer system. That particular alleyway, something to know, the sewer doesn't run completely through the whole alley. It actually comes from 600 up to the Western Hills property, and then from China Star, it goes the other direction. But all those alleyways are designed for maintenance too. You throw a fence in there, and that's what you can do. That's a narrow alleyway. If it wasn't all commercial, if the half was residential like it used to be, I'd say absolutely. But now where it's all zone commercial, but like I say, they're flexible. But it's up to what do they want to do.
Yeah, it's not my call, but I can totally take it back to them. If the city says we would really, really like a fence there, I can obviously suggest that. I appreciate maybe you know, sending the code to us exactly so that they can review that. And whether it's exactly required or not, they can still decide if they want to, you know, if they want to put up a fuss or not.
And if you pass this, then you can go contingent on them looking at the possibility.
If you look at our landscape plan too, again, you know, we can, I mean, if there's some concessions we could do and bolster up the landscaping back there, if that would help. You know, it's something we could also consider if we didn't do a fence and we wanted to be more, you know, shrubs and trees and bushes or something.
I told them to do away with landscaping and try and get some additional parking. That's what I recommend.
Well,
I noticed on the plans, it says, percent of landscape says 10%, it says 16%.
well, I think 10% is the requirement, right? I think we're providing.
10% is the requirement, and so you're providing, it's just it was the way it was labeled.
Oh, was it not very clear?
It was,
Yeah.
yeah. And so I figured it was 16% is just, but
Provided.
I like the landscape and I like, you guys match the trees exactly.
It'll be really nice. I mean, it'll be kind of the new kid on the block and it'll be really nice.
I hope that as we do more site plans, we require that type of landscaping so we improve the looks of the city.
Yeah, you gotta do it piece by piece when you can.
Any other questions or concerns?
On that fencing, I'm interested in other council members' opinion. If I lived north of the property, I would probably want, just for a little bit of privacy, I wouldn't mind a fence. So that's my opinion, but if no one else feels that way, then I'm not worried about.
Do those properties have their own fences right now?
Yeah, there's some wood fences and chain link fences.
Have fences.
And you brought up a lot of great points, you know, it's more likely that those garages could be vandalized because there's, you know, people aren't going to be seen back there, so there's not much openness. So it's a lot, and there's opinions, I can see going either way. And the fence is going to get worn out.
Sometimes kids and trucks or whoever's shooting around back there. That's why AutoZone would say probably they don't want it if they don't have to have it, because if it's open and there's not a fence, there's not a fence to repair every time it gets kicked out by someone or hit with a truck or a trailer or whatever.
Yeah, so it's just it looks like when as we required, you know, the Mountain America was required to put a fence there. Taco Bell was required to put a fence along there, so.
Mountain America was when it was residential. And so that's why it was required. Taco Bell was a courtesy because it was already changed to commercial. I think it was already changed to
Does it specify?
It was, 'cause-
No, I'm
because
wondering
we
if it
did North
specifies.
first, and then we did that next, and then Taco Bell came later. And so Taco Bell's was more of a courtesy to the neighbors, because it wasn't required.
And one of the things about Taco Bell, they, you know, having the owner of the office next door, why they didn't want them exiting and coming right down through the office.
Yeah.
Out there. And, you know, when we built the offices, we didn't know there was houses there, but there wasn't, I guess there was, but we owned the property behind the alley also.
I think there is fencing in another section too.
I'd say it was a more recent change to change that to commercial, because it went clear from Union Street all the way to Strata. As a
And
change.
Brian just
That's
mentioned
one of
that
the
part of
reasons
that
that
fencing
alleys are
was
one
to
way out.
control the
Right.
people walking through their drive-through area.
Well, the drive-through there, Pearl,
Yeah,
so people weren't coming in from the alleyway, it was more.
force people around.
Yeah, direction.
Yeah, so there were more reasons for the fencing. But it wasn't a required by us fencing.
I'm pretty sure it was required. They didn't have it in their initial plan. And that was a restriction that the planning zone put on it.
Did we?
Yeah.
But by ordinance, it wouldn't have been required. Because it would have been,
I don't know.
I think it's still in the same area. But we could make the motion that they at least look at the possibility of a fence. On it.
I don't know if that's the best way to go about it. I think you either require it or you don't. And it's, you know, obviously, they don't want to put a fence there because they have to put a fence there. And, you know, doesn't sound like anyone else is interested in a fence. So I think we drop it unless there's any other opinions.
We can drop it if you guys feel differently later. I mean, again, I don't think a fence, a 6-foot vinyl fence ring would be a deal breaker. So, if you change your mind later and you want to talk about it, and just keep that in your back pocket as something to talk about. But if you hear from maybe some of those residents or something, and it becomes an issue, then let's talk about it and figure it out from there.
Any other questions for AutoZone?
We're going to do China Star.
Yeah, now it's your turn.
I got one quick
Okay.
comment, and she'll probably appreciate this. I'm just, if AutoZone wanted to, would the city be okay with a curb cut in the curb on the alley? So that those people that know and want to use that back alley could still use it if they wanted to. Maybe you don't pave the whole alley, maybe you don't encourage it, but at least there's a curb cut for everyone that wants to and thinks they can still do that.
You gotta change the landscape, wouldn't you?
I would say we,
We would just do a curb cut, 23, or 20, 30 feet wide or something. We'd still have landscaping, but where that curb cut is, we wouldn't. Because, we assume that they're gonna drive through on the,
To me, that's something with
I know.
China Star.
Yeah, and I think
May
they're gonna
like that.
I think they're gonna like that. I'm asking, and I don't even know that AutoZone want it or not, but it is one of the things we talked about that might help the situation. I don't think AutoZone wanted to pave the whole alley because they didn't need it and want it, but if it was just a curb cut to say some people will use it, some won't, maybe that'd be an easy way to.
I should throw out that there actually is access to that property to the alley right now.
Yeah,
Could people use that access
So really,
road?
Right, yeah.
yes,
They do?
well, especially when things like drive up only, you leave.
When it was, when we were
And if
doing
you
just
remember Taco
curbside,
Bell,
people would come
Taco
and drive
Bell
around
ever talked
the
about
alley.
asphalt, it never got asphalted, but it got rotor milled, and maybe in time that could get rotor milled possibly, if city as streets are improved. So probably a curb cut probably would.
I'm not saying we have to, it's just something we talked about and thought it was maybe a nice compromise to still leave the option, because people are doing it now. It kind of bails out on the east end as it approaches the road, so it's a little wider, the alley is.
Was AutoZone concerned that if they did an approach back there, that they'd have to pave the alley?
We talked to them about it, that if they did, we would like that alleyway. That alleyway narrows, it comes through halfway, it's very narrow, and then from halfway through it opened up, so we looked at an access as asphalt would be great, but it probably wouldn't be a deal breaker if it wasn't, especially if it was minimally used.
And I don't think that's why they're choosing not to, they just don't need it. They don't see it as a super big deal for their operation and customers, so they just said,
It might be a help for garbage services.
Yeah.
To come in and out of.
Anyway, it's just something to consider. It might come up, it might not, I was just curious. Anything else for me right now?
I don't think so. It's your turn.
Oh,
Put it off as long as you can.
I know, it's terrible, this kind of thing. So Jane wanted me to come because she wanted her concerns expressed and wasn't able to come herself. As he stated before, she was concerned with the amount of parking that we had for AutoZone, or that AutoZone had allotted us, because we've got the parking on the front, then the shared parking on the side, and then 4 spaces at the back, which does not leave room for employee parking, because if the employees use the stalls that are available, we will have, 6 or 7 for customers. So she was concerned about having enough parking for customers and her employees. And there's no dumpster area allotted for the restaurant. Nowhere for us to tell all our trash. So she was concerned with that as well. She wants this to work. She's excited about it. I know that. She's really excited about the whole prospect of the water going somewhere else. You don't know what it's like to have a squeegee on the sidewalk. You don't know what that's like on a rainstorm. But she's excited about it. Those were her concerns. Was the amount of parking that AutoZone had allotted was not sufficient for our needs as a business, and that there was nowhere for the dumpster to go.
So the building that's currently there for China Star, the north end of it basically is on the north property line, is that right?
On the north,
Yeah, I think
Yes.
the property line only goes like.
The
7 or
property
10
line
feet
is
off
at
the
the-
north end of their building.
it's right at the end of the building, just a couple feet out, isn't it? From the end of the building is where the property line is.
And was that an addition onto the original building, or do you know?
That was an addition on the original building.
Can you pull up the Alta survey that shows where the shared parking is supposed to be? Is that according to the deed?
It's on the site plan, Dean, if you want to
Yeah, it
go back
is.
to the PDFs that you're showing. We're showing the current access parking easement still on there.
It's not both on it.
I'll show you guys that later.
Okay, so you wanna go
Maybe
back.
on the
there?
site plan, just a little finger on the site plan, up a couple.
Well, there's an easement on the property for parking.
Oh.
So right,
So,
go well.
No, go down.
Oh, yeah,
Here,
go.
this one, that one.
So that dashed line right there, see that dashed line, and in that area? That is the existing shared parking and access easement.
Did you look at the city ordinance parking requirements? Did you include parking for both buildings?
I haven't looked at the parking counts for both.
Did you do those calculations, Dean?
I haven't, because I haven't seen the final dimensions of the main building.
Do you know how many parking lots are there?
Oh, we got 9, 18, so it's 32, that would be 36. And then the four out there, so
You
we're
got
about
18 and
40
18.
combined.
There's 40 combined.
14 and 18, that would be 36.
Plus the
You
four
go
out
out
the,
the-
you both the parking requirement.
Parking requirement.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see, I gotta go back over here.
So the pavement's gonna go behind, they're gonna.
They were gonna pay behind the restaurants, correct?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
pretty
that's part, that's their lot.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
that's what
so
they were gonna
right,
pay the
right
whole
here
thing.
is all part of that AutoZone lot, and
Okay,
it's L-shaped and jogs in right behind
So
us.
it's under site plans in your,
I know.
Well, they're fine in that. What's
It's
your
all street
plans for
parking.
the use of that parking lot north of China Star? You guys own that property kind of behind it.
what were the square footages of the two buildings again?
The AutoZone should be around 7,500 or so. I don't know off the top of my head what
If
the,
you go back to that matches the square
I don't
footage
know either.
of both buildings.
Call Jane and ask her.
7,300.
Okay, let's get what's required first before we go
Okay.
back.
So we don't have to go back for this, smart.
So I'm gonna say that this is a business or professional office, because I don't see an A building in here. Restaurant, here we go, right here.
Okay.
A restaurant, tavern, whatever.
So one per 100 square feet.
100 square feet,
2742 square foot on China Star.
and a business is 1 through 3 for 300.
Was it a business or, is there any retail?
Grocery stores, one, or retail grocery store.
I'd say it's pretty close to probably a hardware store. So,
So do we have a hardware store shown, or
Oh, like hardware.
that's one for 400?
one for 400.
Okay, now we can go back.
So what was the,
China Star was 2,742.
So that's,
That's counting.
27 parking places.
Okay, there we're back here, so is there a different one that shows size of building?
if you zoom in on the lots, it shows the square footages.
Yeah.
It says area is
right there.
7,000.
you just,
I pulled the
308.
China Star square footage off the county tax roll.
What, if you zoom into China Star, that shows square footage of the building?
no, we're not, I don't have it labeled on there. I'm sure, I'm labeling the finished floor. He's mentioned it's 20,
Cody pulled it off of the tax.
Off the county tax records.
So there's 28 required for the restaurant, and then 7380 divided by 40. That's 18, or 19, so only you go up 19. So
So
that'd
what's
be,
what's gonna go in that place behind the
so
restaurant?
47 lots required, and there are 40.
parking right there, you see that parking right there, and then the rest of it's kind of a maneuvering area, because trucks and cars and customers will be going both directions here.
So we're 7 months short.
So it's more, it's all just asphalt, it's more of a vehicle maneuvering area for the loading, unloading of their trucks, our trucks. And again, it's not that we can't look at parking back there, it's that thing where we've got a compromise here on some levels on AutoZone's parcel. But we want to review the parking agreement, but we need to make sure we have room for the trucks to maneuver. I mean, even if we could put stalls like right here, I mean, you kind of have one or the other just because they're going to stick out 20 feet. And so it's not like you can have 4 there and 6 there and a trash enclosure. There's just too many things going on. So we're going to have to find the best efficient way to do that based on whatever China Star and AutoZone agree to.
And another issue too, here we have, what is this, a 5-foot strip here?
Yeah.
Like I say, we might have to do that and go to 0 on that alleyway and do some diagonal parking right on that alleyway,
If you're gonna close it out.
you know, with an exit here. And they could maybe possibly get some diagonal, but the problem would be they would have to coordinate with K&K as far as what times K&K can come in and do their dumpster.
Is it hell, K&K is usually there before we ever open?
Yeah, usually they try to
They're
get
in and
through in the
out
morning
quick.
before people are.
They do all the commercial.
So Colby, we are, according to calculations, we're 7 months short
I hear them.
of the required amount of lots for the two businesses combined. I do like the landscaping back there. I'd like to see as much of it left in place as we could. I mean, I think it meets the ordinance. The ordinance does kind of say that that's what's wanted.
On the parking, it might help with the count sometimes, and we have to look at the ordinance, but it's based on maybe just the retail space and not, AutoZone will have a lot of racking and storage. And so sometimes we can adjust the calculations based on the fact that our retail space is only this big, even though the store is this big.
What is it? Can you pull up that ordinance again?
So that's what we've had, that's what we've done in other areas, that, you know, you adjust based on the fact that you have a whole bunch of area in your building that's not gonna be for customers. It's just storage.
Which ordinance are we after this time?
So-
Off-street
So
parking.
we could look at the retail area per square footage and then
Yeah,
also
so
the
that'd be-
storage
Number
Area.
1706 again.
and.
And then number 12, it said 400 square feet of retail floor.
Then what's
You don't know what the retail,
just the square footage of.
Oh, no, I got a floor plan, I might be able to tell you.
And
Has the
also-
floor plan right there or not, but.
It wasn't it stated they required 10%, they were giving us 16% of landscaping? I mean, they're gonna have to trade landscaper for parking somewhere.
it does require landscaping to be all the way around the parking lot, though it doesn't allow you to eliminate landscaping on one side of the parking lot. And it says the minimum width of 5 feet for landscaping.
The only complicated thing, okay, I'm sorry to steal your thunder, I can't be talking from over here. We're in
I
this
can talk
together.
from here. I don't need to stand up.
The only complicated thing though with what we're talking about is we keep saying, well, let's just add more parking, let's add more parking. The compromise though, or the negotiation needs to be added is the AutoZone might not want just maxed out parking in all those areas, just because we can add it, because of their truck maneuvering and other things. That's where this agreement needs to be made to make it work so both sides compromise and we're happy. We can't just max out that whole area just because we have it, because we're gonna need it. I'm sure people with horse trailers or campers or somebody's gonna pull down in there and not have anywhere else to go. And we need to have maneuvering room for the operations of the stores, plus the customers to pull down their trailers and things, so they can maneuver. So I don't personally care. I'm happy to do whatever needs to be done, but we still need that agreement between China Star and AutoZone to occur.
What's your retail square footage? You have to-
Sorry, I was looking. Dean, do you have the, it'd be easier if you guys could show up, 'cause I don't know if we list them out separately.
So let's look at the restaurant ones. The restaurant one, so the restaurant run excludes the kitchen as well and the storage.
So it may be really close.
Do you know how many seats you guys have?
I don't know.
When you're,
At the moment, we've
If you
been
give
in
me a
6
minute, I
groups
can
of
do the
people.
math.
How many tables do you have?
what's your occupancy?
Our occupancy is at 84 or 68?
It's 68 at the very most.
It's 68, it's on the wall.
So 68 divided by 3.5. My phone's dead.
What's your recommendation?
And look,
Well, and right now, because of COVID-19 and social distancing, we're not filling that up.
68 divided by what?
That's 25.
They don't
That
have
isn't always.
But it's not gonna be the case. We have the occupancy for
20.
68.
So probably
It's gonna be lower to do it by the square footage of the
so it's
dining
20.
area.
So our occupancy
As
is.
far as their dining area, they have a large kitchen and then an intermediate storage room. They're using at the most 2/3, if not only half the building for seating for people inside that building.
So are they parking, so there's common parking area, who does it belong to? Or is it a common?
the land belongs to AutoZone, there will be an agreement made for the shared parking and access. So
So really what we're saying is China Star doesn't have parking place and capacity.
not on their own land, just a little bit on their own land. The front stall's out by the road. Everything else is kind of off their parcel and
So-
existing.
So we can talk about meeting the zoning, but right now, on their own land, it's not impossible to meet it. So this is better than,
People that are doing the very last sheet.
seems like, except for if parking somebody else's ground.
But keep in mind, there is an existing parking easement
As
there.
they go to the last
Even though
sheet,
the motel's long gone, there is a legal there.
With the motel,
I assume it was.
It was with the motel when they originally purchased the property. They made a legal agreement for the shared parking and it was supposed to be
The one more.
perpetuity.
Yeah,
So whoever purchased the property
That last
afterwards,
one,
how
Zoom out, show the bottom.
parking space was that?
it's on the,
Oh,
it was the whole middle of the parking lot.
So Lynn,
okay.
Lynn, you see the yellow shaded area? So that's an easement on their property for parking for the China Star.
and this easement was put in place
Was
in
it for China Star
2002.
or was it for a common?
Common.
For the two?
It's common parking for
Common
both.
parking for the two.
Okay.
Yeah, it's common, it's shared.
Okay.
I mean, it's on the motel land, the AutoZone land, but it is shared. Access and parking, that gives cars the right to drive in there, gives them the right to park there. And so our thought was, based on our site plan, is this side of it would be the stall right in front of AutoZone. So we want to redo that to eliminate that side, so those are just AutoZone customers. And then the thought was we would extend that out and down that way and just reshape it. But it all comes back to the parking counts that we have to kind of work on and negotiate. What we can fit in there.
Yeah, this agreement was put in place in 2002 with no property owners.
It's through the waterway,
Just
so
so
there's a place for water
So
around.
people could pull in on the other side and pull out.
Yeah, they can pull through. We input for the right, they go either direction. Yeah, kind of like they do now, except it's perpendicular instead of angular. Just so you guys know, it looks like about 25% of the AutoZone might be that storage area I was talking about. You know, so 25% maybe of that 7,400 or whatever it was would be storage, and the other 75 would be full customer retail area approximately. I can nail that down based on what we decide here tonight.
So one,
It's 1,400 living at 14 years.
so one thing, just a comment is, so it sounds like there's gonna be changes to the drawings.
Would that be 34, so they have enough?
I think that the changes will be minor enough that we can just, Dean can go, it doesn't have to come back to us, even though it's supposed to be him approving it. I think I'm ready to make the motion, if you're okay with that, Steve.
What's that?
I think I'm ready to make the motion.
Yeah. Let's hear it.
I'll make a motion, okay, I want to say 3 conditions, but let me talk about the conditions, okay? Upon, so it sounds like they've done the due diligence and met with UDOT, but I think we need to make sure that before we issue the site permit, that they have the permit, the access permit from UDOT. The second one is that they meet the parking requirements from city code.
Parking requirements for city code.
Yeah. I think that's it, unless there's anything else, but that'll be my motion, that we approve it. And I guess the third one is that Dean approves the minor, it's approval on the contingency that Dean approves the minor changes. So those will be the 3.
I think you should say not just for AutoZone, but for the combined. I mean, AutoZone can meet their parking requirements fine, but.
It has to be able to still be built.
Right.
I think if they want to come back to us and say that they want less, then I think they can come back to us. And, you know, they can do it off the basis of probably right now, there's not enough parking there right now.
What is 35, what did we say, 36?
34 on just rough estimate based off, we'd have to figure out exactly what the retail space is.
I can do that easily.
I think we came up with there are 20 spaces required for the restaurant, and then yours, we came up with 14, so that would put you within limits you already have.
So we're meeting that now. We've got
Let's
40
just get something drawn up that shows exactly what it is and what we've got.
Well, and I might throw out that this absolutely qualifies for variance. And that meets all the criteria, because China Star has nothing. And that's what we're starting with, so I think by cutting it by 4 is not, or something like that is not out of reach.
I think you'll be able to meet the parking requirements. If it's not, then I would like it to come back just to make sure that we meet, because China Star, that's one of their concerns. But I think you'll be able to meet and also that 20 is off, the 100 per square foot is based upon actual diner area, and we calculated that based upon the full area. So it sounds like there's reductions that'll make it so it'll work.
And so that's great, because Ford's done, he and I will make sure that it meets that.
Where's your
What
garbage
about the
dumpster at?
dumpster?
Yeah, I was gonna ask.
We
Where's
still have a
my
couple
house?
things to talk about. A
Where is
we
their
didn't
dumpster?
discuss a curb cut, and we didn't discuss
Our
the
dumpster is
dumpster.
kind of easy on the new lot.
Yeah, they got their
Yeah.
dumpster. What about us?
Where's yours currently?
It is in the back corner, what?
On someone else's property?
No, it's, yeah, on someone else's property. It's right here. There's a dumpster and there's a grease trap thing there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like China Star and I love their food. My personal opinion is right now it's not on their property, and they could go in and they say that they have a prescriptive right of way to use that dumpster. But to me, that's between them. That's not we don't have anything in our ordinance that would say that they have to provide a dumpster for China Star. And I apologize, and I hope I'm not trying to be mean.
Well, now you're mad.
So whatever, if other people want to require, they can.
Well, the big thing is they've got to work things out with Jane, and she's got to agree with the parking.
Yeah, so I think she has leverage there.
And she's gonna require.
So that's her leverage against them, so, but that's between them, not between.
And when I talked to AutoZone, when they first approached me, I made them aware of all the problems and of the concern of the dumpster from day one.
Appreciate you doing that, Dean. It's nice you look out for the residents.
Another thing on the curb cut and goes back to your fence. With the fence and the curb cut, it's really hard to see into the alley. It would be. With the 6-foot privacy fence. You ever try and go north out of Taco Bell and you wonder if somebody's coming, you have to clear out.
That's their situation with Mountain America.
Yeah.
Same deal.
Yeah, you don't know if anybody's
coming
coming.
for
And
entering
so
or exiting.
a privacy fence would hurt that.
On the fence issue, personally, I would kind of prefer not to have one.
Yeah.
Because then I can see the kids smoke a pot after high school, after school gets out, and they're not hiding behind the tree in the bushes with their cinder blocks and such.
Yeah.
Sounds like the
It's
fence is
more-
bad.
Yeah, and so that's
But that's
the reason why.
personal, that's not Jane's opinion, that's fine.
Okay, I'll make an amendment to the motion that if they decide they want a curb cut to allow access to the alley, that we're okay with that. So that'd be the fourth part of the motion. Does that address everything or?
I think so.
And the conversation's not over, obviously. We gotta work out the parking and shared access regardless of whatever you approve or don't approve.
Right.
The trash enclosure might be thrown in that, it might not. That's not that's AutoZone's legal team and Jane and her staff to work out, so. There'll be conversations on that regardless of whether the city's okay with it like it is or we make those adjustments, so. We'll continue to work on that and get that worked out before, we ask for building permit.
Do we have a second on Chris's motion?
A second.
Okay, second by Ruth Ann. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We need to do a roll, let's do a roll call vote. Lynn?
In favor, aye.
Ruth Ann?
Aye.
Brand?
I don't know how I feel about the access to the alley, but I mean, that's not for me to not approve it, so I guess I'm an aye.
Okay. Cody?
Aye.
I'm an aye. Chris Thompson?
Aye.
Chris Squire?
Aye.
All right. Approved with those conditions.
Thank you.
Yep.
Like I said, we'll continue to work close with the staff moving forward and just make sure we really dial it in and same with Jane and her proposals.
And just sit here and look at that map. It's still sad that you can't go further east.
I know.
I
Oh, I
realize
know.
that's a lost cause, but I can still say that, but.
Get all the parking, get all the parking you want right along the east side.
They're just not,
It's what?
they're just not.
Just use Bob's parking.
That's not on.
It is not your mom.
I'm just kidding.
And you know, if you want to get to the dumpster thing, Lee Nails uses it too.
Okay, let's, move on to our next part of our agenda. Thank you for coming
I've got a
tonight.
long drive, I'm gonna head out. That's okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Yeah,
coming.
excuse.
You're good to go.
I'm not.
So much fun.
Now we have our
You get an A. for your
annual
presentation.
training.
Hey, you know how much your opinion means to me. I mean, honestly.
I know how excited you all are for this one. So every year by law, we're required to do an Open Public Meetings Act training. Everyone's favorite training, mine especially. I love this. So we have a couple of options for what we can do with this training. We can do it live here in the meeting. It takes about 22 minutes. We have a video from Dave Church where he presents on the Open Public Meetings Act that we can watch in this meeting, or I can email you a link to that. You can watch it on your own and you can return me a signed affidavit saying that you Open Public Meetings Act dictates, the laws regarding open meetings, where those kind of gray areas exist, in that, like, don't all go to the diner before the meeting and talk about all the issues on the agenda, just that kind of stuff,
Just China
right?
Star.
Yes, you can go to China Star.
Right.
Exactly, so we can do that either way, I'm fine with either one, it's your call.
I like to do it on our own.
I like to do it on their own.
Okay, sounds good.
So,
Okay.
sounds like we're gonna do it on our own.
Please send us a link.
Send
Yes,
us a link.
so what I will do is tomorrow morning, I'm gonna email you all a link to the Dave Church video, and attached to that will be a document, that's just your signed affidavit saying I completed the Open Public Meetings Act training, I'll just need your signature on it back to me at our next meeting. And so you've got an entire month to take 20 minutes to sit down and finish that.
Okay.
Okay, that's it.
I do want.
Anything else for other business?
I wanted to follow up on that ordinance, item, it was on the minutes.
Oh, on, 16, 6.
On the PUEs. So
Uh-huh.
last time we talked about having staff draft an ordinance for the PUEs.
Okay,
Has that been, have they drafted it?
I apologize because I was not here for that, so I have no idea. I can follow up on that and let you know.
We can ask
You
Steve.
know.
Now, what's the question?
So on the last meeting, we talked about PUEs, public utility easements. We talked about having a draft, amendment or draft ordinance change.
Grant was looking at that. I talked to Grant about it, and he was looking at that situation, because he's the one that has to draft it up. I kind of showed him the contradictions and everything, so it's kind of in his ballpark.
It's been about 3 months. It'd be nice if we could get that on the next agenda.
I won't guarantee you is absolutely 100% favor of it. And that might be that we want Grant here to get his input.
I'd be fine with that. I'd be interested. I'd like to hear everyone's opinion on stuff. You know why he was thinking he didn't like it?
We talked, but that was like 2 months ago. I don't meet with Grant. The city manager and the mayor does. I do catch him occasionally when he has time.
Currently, we have conflicting stuff, and so we need to straighten out so that people know what is required. So we have one big
If you look at
commission
the
now.
plans that have been submitted, we've had 7.5 feet on the side yards and 10 feet on the front.
That wasn't on, we didn't, the,
But there is,
Yak property, we didn't require any, we didn't add any PUEs onto that plat when it was recorded.
on some, but on some of the drawings, like Raw Banks and all them, if you go back on all them, they got 7.5 feet, which is the 15 feet on the side yards. and
So we're just gonna follow the ordinance? Is that what you're, I don't like the ordinance
No,
because,
I'm just saying, we have to, I really want a Grant to get here with the body so we could discuss it. That's what I think the best thing to do, and that way you can express your concerns and he knows where we're trying to come from and how we want to change the ordinance. There's just been a lot of things going on in the city and getting the attorney's attention sometimes to address certain issues that are not as important as others takes a little bit of time. So I haven't met with them and talked on it, we just haven't been able to get back together. But I think the best thing to do is if we get Grant to come here to our next meeting, you can express some concerns, and that way he can study the issue and figure out how to best address it. Does that sound reasonable?
yeah, sounds good. Yeah. Lee, you probably gonna do this anyways, but would you mind just making a note? We talked about that, so I'm just worried it's gonna get forgotten. And if we don't talk about it, then it's gonna just go away.
Sometime I think we ought to talk about bed and breakfasts and Airbnbs. There's a lot of discussion within the state on them, and we have no ordinances, no place for them. And then how do you regulate it? What zones do we allow it? I think this is an issue that needs to come before the body.
Well, we've talked, I mean, it's kind of like right now, how in the ordinance it has you approving site plans. We've talked about that. We talked about, looking at, there's a lot of things I would like.
It says may, not shall. In the ordinance, it says may.
Yeah, we
not
still
shall.
need to work on.
No, I-
cleaning up our-
So that's why I bring it to you, and then I do the follow-up on what you recommend from there.
I disagree with what you,
Well, code, there's may and shall.
we can vote the court, but that's not what it says, so.
Let's just,
I
we'll
read
save that for
it.
another time. You said you had some update on Maverick.
Oh, Maverick, oh, yeah. Maverick has contacted me. They asked if they could phase this, which I said, yes, they could. They want to go in, they want to do the front part. They don't want to do, okay, let me find, I can show you. So where do I get to our GIS?
Your last tab.
That's for, so let's get over to Maverick here. They're kind of running out of time, and I'm surprised that they're not demoing this. Let me get collapses here so I can get over here faster. Okay, so let's expand this a little bit. Let's do it. Let's go back. So here we have Maverick. Originally, they were gonna add another pump right here. They want to not add that right now. They're gonna tear this down and do this line of pumps here. And that, they were gonna kind of cut this off and not bring this out quite as far here, but they were gonna basically do this. I think the 4 sets of pumps here and this. So that's how they were proceeding, but they've got to get this demoed first.
Is that gonna be truck pumps where the building's demoed, or?
Yes, sir, there will be two sets of pumps that are for large diesels, and then there will be 2 sets of pumps for like trucks and trailers, large motorhomes, you know, where you can't pull into their stuff now and get through. So there'll be 2 small truck and car pumps, and then 2 for large diesel trucks. And the original parking in the back was just for people to get out and come in to buy stuff, not overnight parking. It's not a large truck overnight, you know, truck plaza in that. So they wanted to get this and come back. We're not gonna go quite as far with their asphalt at the back as possible, but they wanted to get the main part done.
It would be nice to be able to leave that parking and go over to State Street and come out at a light.
Yeah, that's what they'll do.
That would be nice.
Well, they're looking at exiting right here.
Yeah, they'll
So
still do.
they're gonna put some pavement so you can come and exit and then
Yeah.
go clear behind there.
Yeah,
Go
they'll
to State
still,
Street.
they'll
Okay,
still do that.
all right.
Because the plan is to have trucks and trailers, so they have to be able to leave that way.
With the downturn, they had to relook at this, and that's why they had to move on it. But they gotta get it move on it quick. It's just like AutoZone. If they don't get working, they're not gonna get asphalt out. And that's why AutoZone was here for site approval. They're working on getting me the building plans. And same with AutoZone. If they don't get with the program, they're not gonna get it. And I don't see if either one of them get going on it. Either one of them happen this fall. Because, I mean, middle of November is pushing it for asphalt.
Yeah. All right, any other business at this time? If not, to entertain the motion to adjourn.
I'll make it.
Chris Squire, second.
I'll second.
Lynn, all in favor?
Aye.
Off record.